Amazon's big Hollywood bet buying MGM studios for more than $8 billion. The company also holding its virtual shareholder meeting today. You can see Amazon shares moving slightly higher, up just around 0.2%. So we want to talk about this deal and a number of other issues with Bruce Goldfarb. He's Okapi's Partners president and CEO. Bruce, it's great to have you. Let's start with the news today on MGM, because this is something we've talked about in the past, why it makes sense for Amazon to, I guess, expand its footprint in this space. But from a shareholder's perspective, from an investor's perspective, how should they be looking at this deal?
Hey, Shauna, it's always great to talk about these transactions in a very volatile and interesting market. And if you're a shareholder of Amazon, and today is a big day to be a shareholder of Amazon, what with the shareholder meeting and the announcement, you're looking at ways that Amazon is going to be able to enhance value and create value going forward. And in that regard, this kind of transaction shows that Amazon touches in so many different ways. And as a firm where we reach out to investors on behalf of our clients, we help our clients understand how those investors think and how they behave. And so when you get to a situation like a deal announcement, it's important to monitor the trading, monitor the reaction from your holders who will be buying and selling to your holders who are never potentially buying more shares, but are holding and hoping for the value to move forward. In this instance, there are so many issues that the Amazon holders are looking at in ways of interest, as I heard Adam say earlier. Shaken and stirred might be the way the market is reacting.
Bruce, I do like a good martini, whether it's shaken or stirred. No problem with that. But let's talk about something else as we broaden this out, which is the lawsuit filed by the Attorney General in Washington, D.C., suing Amazon on antitrust grounds. What kind of traction might this get? And is it a threat to the company in the long term?
The lawsuit is something that's going to be an ongoing challenge and something that is hard to assess in any given day. But ultimately, shareholders will always be looking at where the value lies in Amazon and what the risk to value may be. When we think about those issues, it goes beyond any particular situation litigation-wise or any one issue. With a company like Amazon, you've got to think about not just your litigation risk, you've got to think about your product mix, the outreach campaign to get your story out there, the competitive landscape that you have, but you also have to think in terms of where your investors are looking today, and that also includes the kind of environmental and social issues that were front and center both at Amazon and also at Exxon today.
Do you think companies are under more pressure now, given the past 14 months after the various experiences that we've gone through with the pandemic and, of course, the number of protests? And you're mentioning we had the one-year anniversary of George Floyd's death yesterday. Companies are, I guess, investors and shareholders want companies to be more vocal on this issue. Do you think companies are doing enough to step up to the plate and therefore enact the change that's needed?
It's a real challenge to find the right balance these days, Shauna. Companies are keenly aware of the issues that are important to their investors, and investors are becoming much more vocal about how important those issues are to them. When we are putting our clients in front of their investors, the discussion is both about what you're doing every day to create value for your company. What is your plan? And that plan, since pandemic times, has included workplace safety. How are you treating your employees? How is the process going in terms of creating an environment at work that deals with equity, diversity, inclusion, and also the kinds of issues about the environment in general? And companies have to face the risk to value of sustainability or technology breaks. Any types of issues that they may not have addressed before. And I find that more companies are doing a better job of addressing these issues. I think if you look at the Amazon proxy material today, or for today's meeting, you would see they address these issues. They acknowledge that there are differences in points of view, but that they consider and take these issues very seriously. And we're experiencing that investors care. Institutional investors have been much more vocal about how much they care about these issues.
Right.
And I think partly because their investors care.
You point out that the real question for any company is how a board makes progress on whatever the issue is without disrupting the business. You would expect Amazon and its leadership to continue to be able to go forward without too much disruption, don't you?
Amazon will have plenty of ability to move forward, but there's always issues in the world in which we live. On any given day, you have to consider all sorts of factors, Adam. And we find that things are moving very quickly. If I think beyond Amazon and I think about situations that we're working on now, the kinds of issues that concerned investors a year ago have changed. Certainly, in some cases, those issues change week to week, and you need to be on top of those issues. The best companies will always be able to address those issues, but it is a constant challenge about being in touch with the issues, being in touch with your investors, knowing how they think and knowing how they behave.
Bruce Goldfarb, great to speak with you. Okapi Partners President and CEO. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us.